So oftentimes people have upper and lower cross syndrome at the same time. This can be really scary because when you're trying to address one, the other degenerates or deteriorates and you can't keep track of both. This is a way that I've gotten rid of mine over time. It's a great maintenance program. It takes 10 to 12 minutes. All you gotta do is keep up with it every day real quickly. Don't overdo it. If you have upper or lower cross syndrome, this will also help one or the other. And if you don't have either and you sit at a desk a lot or drive a car or do anything in a seated posture, it's a great way to keep up with your posture over time, make sure it doesn't degenerate later in life. So it's a great maintenance. It's a great warm-up to any workout, really. You can take it as far as you want or regress it as much as you want. Don't push it. If some of the exercises are too much or too little, adjust as needed. And also over the whole workout, just try to be mindful of your position. And if you have any pain, obviously stop. So give this a whirl, 10 to 12 minutes. You can go longer, you can go shorter. It doesn't take long. See how it works and leave some comments below or reach out to Anthroproach on Instagram or our email at the end of this video.
Active mobilization number 1, thoracic extension. We'll need a foam roller. You'll interlace your fingers. The foam roller will be behind the sternum and the mid-back, not anywhere near the low back or the neck. We're doing a 5-breath hold, breathing deep into the low abdomen with wide rib expansion, trying to fill the whole core with air. After 5 breaths, we will do 5 extensions for repetitions. This will be done in 3 different spots while breathing and actively driving through these motions. So we're not just melting or sloppily falling over the foam roller. We're driving, keeping a nice tension in the front abdomen through the sternum and a little bit into the neck, but otherwise have the head pretty relaxed and supported in the hands with elbows pretty close together. 3 different spots. We won't let the ribs jut out and forward too much. We don't want to get too much movement in the low back. We don't want to extend the neck too much. So this is a mid-back motion, not a rib motion, and it's not a neck motion. It is a mid-spine motion with a clear arc, driving through that arc actively and slowly. Active mobilization number 2, hip opener. So here we'll be in half kneeling, chin retracted, pelvis tucked, shoulder, hip and knee and ear all in one straight line. Then we'll go forward into a hip extension on the left leg with a straight left leg until we find that stretch in the psoas hip flexor region. Once that stretch is found, we'll breathe deep into the waistband to increase pressure and tension in that stretch for 3 deep breaths. After those 3 deep breaths, we'll raise an arm, potentially arc backward without losing the low back and without losing the spine. As you'll see here, I'll droop. We don't want that. We want an active arc from the left knee to the left hand. And then maybe another 3 breaths there, 3 to 5. Pelvic tuck, chin up, crown tall, all straight line. Now we'll extend that right hip. Maybe a flex to the right glute will help here as well. 3 breaths, then we'll arc and do another 3 breaths. After that's done, we'll do a 3D variation that I'll show by turning to the camera. We'll go into external rotation with the hip first. See how I showed my foot from behind my knee. Same gig, nice and arced, rigid through the trunk, 3 different angles. So hide the foot and then do another round, taking it to the side. Again, 3 breaths, just holding the stretch with a nice strong trunk, tall crown, and then 3 breaths with a potential hand overhead and an arc if they feel okay. You can progress to those slower over time. Active mobilization number 3, squat extension. This is a mid-spine extension. Again, the first few will just be me taking my arms overhead with the sternum area of the mid-back butted up against the box. So right about where we had that foam roller, doing about 5 extensions here without taking the head with us yet. And then as you'll see here, I'm going to take the head with me, getting a real true forced thoracic extension, but goal-oriented. And that's the problem I see with a lot of mid-spine mobilizations. So just those last 3, take the spine, try to wrap it over that box. Don't let the neck break, and go back like this. And don't let those hips get too far away from the box or the low back to extend. We'll jump to the loaded mobilization number 3 for flow reasons. We're doing a 20-pound overhead squat extension now. So this is only if the first part of this felt really good and you feel very secure with this. And again, you'll see me take my head with me in that first rep, but I would advise you just do an overhead press with a small extension against that box and really slow this one down. And if you don't feel comfortable with this, don't even try it yet. And feel free to message us if you have any questions about regressions for this motion. I'm doing 20 pounds here. You can I've worked my way up to about 40 pounds, so play with it as you like and don't push it too far. Loaded mobilization number 2, elevated knee dip. Find a box that fits your height and limitation. I'm going with a 16 right here. We'll charge that left ball of the big toe, dropping that left knee down to be in line roughly with the hip, shoulder, and ear, keeping a neutral spine, and just diving until you feel a nice stretch in the left big toe joint, extension-wise. Left knee is slightly loaded. If this is too much load, shorten your stance for the knee initially. And then maybe we'll add an arm overhead and an arc of the back. This will be very progressed, so don't push into it too fast. We'll switch to the other side. Again, very important, load that right foot. You want to load that right ball of the big toe, charge it before we dive into the dip until that right knee is in line with the shoulder, hip, and ear. Neutral spine, slowly coming down into a little more extension. In this video, I'll internally rotate my right hip a little bit like that, or out to the side. Again, kind of that 3D aspect, getting different tissues. Then maybe I add that hand overhead and an arc without losing my low back, and that right glute stays nice and locked. Performance remedy number 1 will be the half kneeling press. So it's the half kneeling that we did earlier. You could do it in the 3D variations, but we'll go into hip extension with the shoulder, hip, and ear all in one line, and then adding the thoracic extension via overhead press. I'm using an 18-pound medicine ball here, tucking pelvis, crown tall, chin retracted. Go into the hip extension and then begin your press. I'm also going to do a kettlebell variation. You can use a barbell. You can do as much weight as you like here. Just keep neutral spine, stable hip. Now remember, we're lifting over an open hip, so make sure it's super stable and you progress slowly with weight and position. So hip extension presses, go slow on the eccentric portion or on the way down with the kettlebell to ensure safety and neurological patterning. Performance remedy number 2, rocking extensions and ball slams. Inhale and rock back gracefully, and exhale at the top, going into an overhead extension with your medicine ball, getting that thoracic riding after a nice rock over the lumbar, which can be pretty hypertonic with lower cross syndrome. So this will help release some tension in the low back as well. So 3 rounds of 10 of just the overhead extension, and then 3 rounds of 10 with the ball slams at the top. And you can increase speed and weight over time. If you have any questions or concerns, comment below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you're interested in online or in-person training, inquire via anthroapproach@gmail.com or DM us over at anthroapproach on Instagram.